Zanele was the kind of friend everyone wished they had, loyal, kind, and always present. She lived a quiet life in the heart of Lusaka, working long hours as a seamstress in a small roadside shop her late mother once ran. Her hands were rough from years of stitching clothes for others, but her heart was soft, especially for her best friend, Tariro. Tariro had it all: money, designer clothes, and a father who owned one of the biggest hotels in the city. From the outside, their friendship looked unlikely. One was rich, always surrounded by flashing lights and followers, while the other barely made enough to feed herself. But Zanele never cared about any of that. Since they were children, she had always stood by Tariro's side. Even when Tariro forgot her birthday, blamed her for things she didn't do, or made jokes about her old clothes in front of others, Zanele stayed quiet. She always forgave. She always helped. When Tariro had an event and needed a last-minute dress, Zanele would sew through the night. When Tariro got into trouble at school, Zanele would lie and say it was her fault. She never asked for anything in return. All she wanted was to be seen as a real friend. But Tariro never truly saw her that way. She treated Zanele like a helper, not a friend. Still, Zanele kept hoping. She believed one day her kindness would be appreciated. One day, maybe Tariro would be proud to call her a friend in public, not just when she needed something. But what Zanele didn't know was that life was about to shift. The friend she had lifted for years was about to fall, and Zanele's time to rise was closer than she imagined. Zanele gave up so much of her own life just to keep Tariro shining. Whenever Tariro was in trouble, it was Zanele who stepped in without thinking twice. She stitched dozens of outfits for Tariro's parties, launches, and photo shoots, never asking for money, never complaining, even when she didn't have enough to eat. When Tariro struggled in school, it was Zanele who stayed up late helping her study, even if it meant missing her own deadlines. She believed in Tariro's dreams more than her own, and when the scandal started, rumors about Tariro dating married men, getting into fights at clubs, or stealing designs, it was Zanele who lied for her. She'd take the blame. She'd say, "It was my idea," or "She was with me that night," just to protect her friend's image. Even when people warned her, telling her she was being used, Zanele would defend Tariro fiercely. She truly believed Tariro had a good heart deep down. She thought maybe one day Tariro would turn around, acknowledge everything she'd done, and lift her up too. But that day never came. Instead, Tariro expected more and more. She'd call Zanele at 2 a.m., demanding a dress for an early morning shoot. She'd bring celebrity friends to Zanele's tiny shop, treat her like a worker, and walk out without a thank you. And Zanele, tired, hungry, and sometimes crying in secret, would still say yes, because in her heart she thought that's what friends do. They show up, they carry the load. But the truth was, Zanele was carrying a friendship that only she was building, and one day all that weight would push her to a choice: either keep being invisible or finally see her own worth. Tariro's star began to rise fast. She became one of the most followed fashion influencers in the country. Her pictures were everywhere: billboards, magazines, and social media. She was invited to exclusive fashion shows in Nairobi, Cape Town, even Paris. Everyone admired her style, her confidence, her so-called original designs. But what the world didn't know was that behind every outfit Tariro wore was Zanele's hard-working hands. Zanele stitched them, fixed them, sometimes even designed them. But not once, not even once, did Tariro mention her name. When journalists asked about her fashion inspiration, Tariro would smile and talk about inner vision and natural talent, as if she did everything alone. Even when her fans asked where she got her clothes, she would lie and say they were custom-made by international designers. Meanwhile, Zanele was watching it all quietly from her small room, her phone buzzing with Tariro's updates, each photo a dress she'd made, each compliment a credit stolen from her, but she never said a word. Zanele kept hoping maybe one day Tariro would post a simple thank you, Maybe she'd tag her just once, but nothing. Instead, Tariro began to treat her like she didn't even exist. She wouldn't take her to events, wouldn't introduce her to people who could help her grow. Zanele became just the girl who helps out, hidden behind the glamour, the lights, the fame. It was like she was a ghost in her own story, watching someone else live the dream she had helped build from the ground up. And still, she stayed silent, until life gave her a reason not to be anymore. Because one day, Zanele would no longer be the shadow, she'd be the spotlight. Zanele's world shattered the day her father passed away. He had been her only family, her biggest supporter, the one who always reminded her she was special even when the world ignored her. He died suddenly after a short illness, leaving Zanele heartbroken and alone. She sent messages to all her friends, including Tariro. She didn't ask for money or help, just presence, just support. She thought surely Tariro would come. After all the years Zanele had stood by her through every scandal and struggle, this was the one time she truly needed her friend. But the day of the funeral came and went, and Tariro never showed up. No call, no message, no flowers, nothing. Later that same evening, while Zanele was still dressed in black and wiping tears from her face, her phone buzzed. It was a video. Tariro had just posted a new story, laughing on a beach in Zanzibar, sipping cocktails, dancing with influencers, and writing, "Living my best life, no bad vibes." Zanele's heart dropped. That video felt like a knife. While she was burying her only parent, the friend she had sacrificed everything for, was out there pretending like nothing happened, smiling for the world. It was in that moment that something inside Zanele changed. All the years of loyalty, of being used, of being invisible. It hit her like a wave. Tariro didn't just forget her, she never truly cared. That funeral wasn't just a goodbye to her father. It was the death of the last piece of hope Zanele had in that friendship. And in that deep, quiet pain, something new began to rise in her. A fire she had never felt before. A fire that would soon turn her life around in ways no one saw coming. After her father's funeral, Zanele found herself completely alone. Her heart was heavy, but her mind was clear for the first time in years. She realized she had spent too long building someone else's dream, while hers stayed buried. With nothing left to lose, she turned to the only thing she knew, sewing. In her tiny room, surrounded by scraps of leftover fabrics that most people would throw away, Zanele began creating. She didn't have fancy tools or expensive materials, but she had heart, skill, and a vision. She stitched by hand, mixing colors no one dared to combine, turning waste into wonder. And then she did something bold. She started filming the process. With her old phone, she recorded videos showing how she made her pieces. But she didn't just show the sewing. She told her story. She talked about loss, about friendship, about betrayal and healing. She didn't hide her tears or struggles. Her voice cracked sometimes, but people listened because it was real. She posted her work on social media, tagging her videos with simple captions like, "From pain to purpose," and "This is all I have, but I'm giving it my all." Slowly, people began to notice. Orders trickled in, then more. Comments flooded her page with words like inspiring, authentic, and powerful. Women from across Africa started sharing her videos. Influencers reposted her looks. Zanele, the girl who was always behind the scenes, was now in the spotlight, and she earned it all on her own. No fake image, no filters, just talent, truth, and raw determination. For the first time, she wasn't following someone else's dream. She was building her own empire, one stitch at a time. And this time, the world finally knew her name. While Zanele's light was rising, Tariro's world slowly began to fall apart. At first, it was just whispers. Rumors that her payments to suppliers were late, that she owed money to several stylists and event planners. But then, things started getting louder. A designer accused her publicly of stealing a design and refusing to pay. Another claimed she had taken money for a brand deal and never delivered. Her followers noticed she was wearing the same clothes over and over again. and her posts started looking more forced than glamorous. People began to question everything. Sponsors who once begged to work with her started pulling away. Some sent public statements ending their partnerships. Brands didn't want their names tied to someone caught in too many scandals. There were even screenshots circulating of Tariro yelling at staff, making rude comments, and lying about her collaborations. The same charm that once drew people in had now turned bitter, and the world saw it clearly. Tariro tried to act like everything was fine. She posted throwbacks, fake smiles, and captions like, "Still winning," but it was obvious things weren't the same. Events she used to headline didn't invite her anymore. Influencers she once mentored stopped tagging her. Her lavish lifestyle began to crack. No more fancy vacations, no more champagne brunches, no more flashing designer bags. And the worst part, when she looked around for support, no one was left. She had pushed away every real friend she had, including Zanele. Now, her empire, built on image, not integrity, was falling fast. The spotlight that once adored her now exposed everything she tried to hide. And while the internet watched her spiral, a new name was being celebrated online, a name she had once ignored: Zanele. Tariro's pride was bruised, her fame fading fast, and the silence from sponsors was louder than ever. She scrolled through her feed and saw something that made her heart sink. Zanele, smiling, confident, surrounded by models wearing bright, beautiful outfits crafted from fabric scraps and hard work. Her brand, Threads of Grace, had gone viral. Influencers were wearing her pieces. Celebrities were commenting. People were calling her the face of authentic African fashion. And just like that, the one girl she used and ignored was now everything she wished she could be. Desperate and out of options, Tariro did something she swore she'd never do. She reached out. She sent Zanele a long, emotional voice note. Her voice was shaky, pretending to be soft and full of regret. "Zanele, I've been thinking about you. I'm so sorry for everything. I didn't realize how much you meant to me. We made such a great team. I miss those days. Maybe we can work together again. Bring back the magic?" But Zanele wasn't the same girl anymore. She had grown. She had bled, healed, and built herself back from nothing. She saw through the fake apology immediately. She remembered all the times Tariro ghosted her, took credit for her work, and ignored her pain. Now, Tariro wasn't offering kindness. She was offering desperation dressed in fake humility. Zanele listened to the message once, then again. For a moment her hands trembled, but then she smiled. This time she had the power, and she knew. Some people only remember your worth when they've lost their own. This wasn't a real apology. It was a last-minute grab for survival. And Zanele had finally learned. She didn't need to rescue the one who left her drowning. Zanele took a deep breath before replying to Tariro's message. She didn't say yes right away. She paused, thought about it, then responded with calm words. "Sure, let's talk." But behind her soft tone was a sharp mind. Zanele wasn't the naive girl she once was. She knew Tariro hadn't changed. She could feel it in her voice, in the way she spoke like nothing had happened, like Zanele owed her something. So, she agreed, but with a plan in mind. Every voice note, every text message Tariro sent afterward was filled with flattery, fake kindness, and hidden jabs. Tariro talked about reviving their friendship, but she also complained that Zanele's designs weren't what they used to be, and that people only like you now because I made you famous first. Zanele stayed silent. She kept smiling, but quietly, she recorded it all. After a week of fake meetings and empty promises, Zanele uploaded a video titled, "The Truth Behind My Silence." It started softly, with a clip of her sewing. Then the screen faded black, and one by one the voice notes played. Tariro's words filled the air, patronizing, manipulative, full of jealousy masked as friendship. People were shocked. The comments exploded. She really thought she could fool Zanele again? This is the real face behind the glamour. The internet turned on Tariro in seconds. Zanele didn't say much in the video. She didn't need to. Her calm silence said everything. She ended the video with just one line. "Some people taught me pain, others taught me power. Thank you for both." That moment changed everything. Zanele wasn't just a designer anymore. She became a symbol of resilience, proof that grace, strength, and quiet revenge can speak louder than any apology ever could. The internet didn't just watch, it roared. Zanele's video spread like wildfire. People across the continent and beyond began sharing her story with captions like, "This is what grace looks like," and "The seamstress who sewed her own destiny." Overnight, Zanele's name was everywhere. News outlets picked up her story. Bloggers, influencers, and even celebrities reposted her video, calling her a symbol of self-worth and strength. Hashtags like Yilojan, Sow Your Destiny, and Zanele Rising were trending. People connected deeply with her story, not just because of the drama, but because she represented so many who had been used, overlooked, and underestimated. Her calm strength, her quiet rise, and the way she handled betrayal with intelligence instead of bitterness inspired millions. Even those who had never heard of Lusaka were now Googling it just to know more about where this powerful woman came from. Zanele's brand exploded with attention. Her online store crashed from too much traffic. Orders poured in from around the world. She started getting emails from fashion houses, investors, and global magazines wanting interviews. But Zanele didn't let the noise change her. She stayed grounded, working from her small workshop, stitching each piece with the same hands that once wiped her tears. And as for Tariro, she tried to defend herself, but the world had already moved on. The same spotlight that once adored her now belonged to someone else, someone who had earned it through heart, hustle, and truth. Zanele became more than a designer. She became a movement, a reminder that sometimes the ones who sit quietly in the shadows are the ones who shine the brightest when their time finally comes. And Zanele's time had arrived, loud, beautiful, and stitched together by every piece of pain she turned into power. With her new fame and success, Zanele didn't forget where she came from or the struggles she had faced alone. Instead of just enjoying the spotlight, she decided to give back. She started a cooperative, a safe space and workshop for young women artisans from Lusaka and beyond. Women who, like her, had big dreams but no support. She provided them with materials, training, and a platform to showcase their talents. It wasn't just about fashion, it was about creating a community where these women could lift each other up, share their stories, and build futures together. The cooperative quickly grew. Stories of young women transforming their lives with Zanele's help spread across social media. These women weren't just making clothes, they were stitching hope, confidence, and independence into every thread. Zanele's vision was clear. Real success was about lifting others, not stepping on them. Meanwhile, Tariro's name started disappearing from the headlines. The scandals and controversies she once thought she could charm away now caught up with her. Offers dried up, followers unfollowed, and sponsors turned their backs. She tried to hold on, but the world had no room for someone who betrayed trust and lost respect. Alone and forgotten, Tariro was left to face the emptiness of fame without friendship. In the quiet moments, Tariro finally understood what she had lost, the loyalty and love of someone who truly cared. But it was too late. Zanele had already moved on, building something bigger and better. Tariro's downfall was a harsh lesson on the value of true friendship, respect, and humility. Zanele, on the other hand, became a shining example of what happens when talent meets kindness and courage. She wasn't just surviving, she was thriving and bringing others up with her every step of the way. If you found Zanele's story inspiring, please like, share, and subscribe for more powerful tales. Remember, true success comes from lifting others up and staying loyal to those who stand by you.